Hello everyone and welcome back to a sculpting tutorial. Today we're gonna be sculpting arms. If you have torso, we're gonna be continuing sculpting from the torso, but if you don't have it, it's fine. But you should still set up the pictures in your background. If you don't know where to find these ones, I told in the torso sculpting video. So please have them out because I'm gonna be explaining a bit on them. And yeah, let's go. So firstly, you should have the cylinder made. From this is where I'm gonna start. So firstly, I'm gonna just add another arm. And let's, I guess, start with explanation on what the distance I'm looking at the hands. Arms. Okay, so I'm gonna add the new one. Let me turn on the screencast keys, sorry. And let's draw over. Okay. So what first thing I'm looking at how long to make the hand arms is this area. This is where we're bending. And it usually goes on where your ribcage ends. So I have this line of where my ribcage ends. So it should be around that area. And this one is usually where your torso ends. It's gonna be your wrist area. The thing is, her arm is bent, so you have to think accordingly to that. I have it a bit longer, but it's okay. It's not too much. But I guess I can scale them. So yeah, let's start, I guess, going in the sculpting mode. I'm gonna look at the boxer mesh. And it is too big. I'm gonna lower the number and check out the statistics. About around 20,000. That's great. Okay. So I'm gonna choose clay strips. By the way, if you don't know how to set up your quick favorites, it's by pressing the Q button. You can open up this tab, but if you want to set up, you right click on a brush and assign to your favorites. I have this one already in favorites, so add quick to the favorites. Every time you're gonna press, it's gonna appear in here. Okay, so I'm choosing the clay strips, and first I'm gonna form the biceps. Biceps are usually the hand itself is rotated a bit inwards, so the bicep is not standing straight up to the face, it's a bit curving into the torso side. Actually see that I don't do too much dent on the sculpt, so I'm gonna use inflate tool and inflate whole arm. It's easier to work from a bit thicker because at this place we can use a grab tool. Another thing what people miss about the biceps is the bicep is not a round shape. It's not an egg. it is a straight muscle and it just gets few cuts on this area. At this place it just joins in, but it's not an oval shape. I'm actually gonna add a bit more resolution to my voxel remesher. Clay strips again. And start forming a triceps. Triceps shape is pretty interesting, can be hard to achieve, but usually there's a separation in here. Let me switch the color. And it has that empty area for the bone. That's why it bulges like that. I'm not gonna have that bulge too big on this model, just because this is a girl and girl shapes are usually very soft. But if you're trying to make a muscular person, you definitely should add quite a lot of it. Let me just move the image a bit further away, because it's messing me up on the rotation. Okay, let's go back into sculpting mode. Don't really worry too much about it right now, just get the general shape in. Another thing from the side view. Okay, just a second, let's push this image back as well. So yeah, another thing about the tricep is that it changes the form of your side view as well. And that bulge. And yeah, probably made the hand a bit too thick. You can always go and try to measure it to the reference image. I'm having a bit more stylized, so it's gonna look a bit different from the reference. I'm gonna use pose brush and just pose my arm in a bit better shape, form, pose like this one. Looks a bit better this way. Okay, grab tool again. And let's go back and work on our triceps. If it's hard for you to get this separation, try using crease brush and just creasing that area where your bone should be. But later on we're gonna come back with having more resolution on voxel remesher and work a bit more on it. Now we're gonna have to get this shapes in. So usually this one has a bigger bulge and this one is more even flow, but on the reference it looks a bit different. It really is sometimes a bit more about your preference, but you should still try to follow a general shapes. So the bottom one has a bigger bit of this oval shape in here, and this one flowing more through, as well as I made the wrist way too thick. I'm gonna shape my hand not facing forward but facing into the leg. So having that in mind, the wrist thickness gonna be much smaller on my side. It really is sometimes how you prefer your arm to be facing in, hand to be facing in which direction. I like all my models hand facing into the body. So I'm gonna show you that way. You can still try following this side, even if your hand is facing to the body. It usually is pretty simple. From the side, just shapes inward to your hand. And as well as remember, for the females, the shape should be much smoother and not as aggressive as for a male. Let's go to clay strips. Now this muscle is pretty tricky for beginners, especially. I'm gonna add another one a bit darker. Another annotation. It starts from here. It starts from somewhere 1/3 of your bicep. So it comes from that place. Maybe you can see better a bit here. And a lot of people ignore that and just shape from where your hand bends, but it's not accurate. It goes a bit in your top part of the hand. And rotates around. When your hand is facing into this direction, you can see that it doesn't have a lot of rotation of this muscle. But when I'm rotating my hand, I'm just looking where this muscle ends. Okay. So now it's gonna end somewhere in here, just like in the reference image. That's where I'm trying to have it. This way it's very easy to think on how the muscle should rotate. Just going blindly will be very confusing. Okay. I made the hand to 30. So I'm trying to make it a bit smaller. Okay, so that's quite fast and quick hand. Now let's go into refinement. For refinement, I'm definitely gonna increase the resolution of voxel. Let me hide the body and see just how much vertices my arm has, and it's 140,000. I think I can add a little bit more. Maybe 150,000 is somewhere. Should be good. Okay. So for the refinement, we're gonna use a bit different tools. I usually like the crease. And I'm gonna carve the bicep. Actually, the crease is not doing too good of the job. Let's go into draw sharp. If your strokes are very... Okay, it became a bit laggy. That's a bit weird. So if you don't like how your strokes are a bit... the line is squiggly, go to the tool and to strokes and stabilize your stroke. It will make... It takes a bit of practice to get used to it, but it can be very helpful. So I'm gonna separate where that muscle is. Just smooth. I'm gonna hide the body. It's good that we don't have a joint for now. I can draw the inner part of the bicep. If you're starting to lag like me, you can probably lower the poly count. I'm gonna apply the mirror. Maybe the mirror is lagging for me. As well as maybe I have something on. I really don't see the problem why it should be lagging. Let's save the project. Smooth. Female shapes are smooth, so we can use a lot of smooth tool. Now we can probably see a bit harsh separation in here, and if you feel like you want to have that, you can keep adding it and smoothing. Maybe use the crease tool to make it more noticeable, then smooth again, and we're gonna have that separation. Now another thing is there a bone poking out of your elbow. Maybe on another one is a bit more visible. There's your bone and there's a muscle around it. So we get that small poking action. I'm actually gonna show you that muscle a bit better, I guess. Let's see if I can find it. I can't find it in these reference images. That's why having a reference images is very important. But I guess I can see this small entrance in here as well. Okay. So let's go to draw. Add that first muscle. And then I usually just draw a bubble in here and it works pretty well. You can smooth it and have it not very noticeable. Don't forget to have that top part going into one place. Now for the elbow can be a bit difficult, but don't worry about it too much. Just add the straight mesh in where your hand bends, smooth. Clear, draw sharp. Have some areas like this. If you look at the reference image, you can see what I'm looking for, as well as you can have a small separation in here. You can crease this part smooth. And that's it. If you're sculpting only the arm, I think that's enough, but we're sculpting the whole torso with the arms, so I'm gonna join them in. I'm gonna make my shoulder muscle a bit different. And join these parts. So I just select them together, Control join, to have them as a one mesh, going to sculpting mode and use the vertex remesher. Probably first I'm gonna save it, then see the resolution, try using it. 300,000, 400,000 is probably enough. I'm just gonna smooth the areas. And you can see that it's already looking pretty good. If you want to be looking like an expert, when you join your arms, your arm to the torso, crease this part where your armpit is, so the separations becomes less visible. And you can add a bit of mesh in this area. Don't really think too much about the shape of it. What I'm looking for is just having that nice bubbly separation in this area. As you can see from your hand, because the big mistake which I see a lot of times is the arm separates the body in this way and it just looks weird. Okay, so thank you for looking and following the tutorial, and see you next time.